What happens when a CEO goes undercover at his own diner and discovers the truth behind the smiles? Noah Bennett, the founder and CEO of Sunny Bites, a family-style diner chain with 12 locations, had built his business from the ground up over the past decade. For Noah, Sunny Bites wasn't just about serving good food, it was about creating a warm, welcoming space where customers felt like they were eating at home. He prided himself on cultivating a work environment where employees were treated like family, valued and respected. But recently, Noah began to feel that things were slipping out of his control. Negative reviews about slow service and rude staff were piling up online, tarnishing the reputation he had worked so hard to build. Even worse, employee turnover was at an all-time high, and the team morale seemed to be crumbling. Strangely, his regional managers kept assuring him that everything was running smoothly, and that there was nothing to worry about. Yet, Noah's gut told him otherwise. Rumors of a toxic work environment, power abuse, and employee mistreatment were spreading like wildfire across the branches. The only way to know the truth is to see it with my own eyes, Noah resolved. Frustrated and determined to uncover what was really happening, he decided to go undercover at one of his diners. Without telling anyone, he chose a location far away from the corporate office, in a suburban neighborhood where nobody would recognize him. To blend in and avoid suspicion, Noah transformed his appearance: a scruffy beard, a worn-out hoodie, faded jeans, and a pair of thick-rimmed glasses. Gone was the polished, charismatic CEO from the company's website. In his place stood an unassuming man who looked like any other tired customer grabbing a quick meal. Would Noah uncover the truth hidden behind those polite smiles? And what would happen when his identity was finally revealed? This journey would change his life, and the future of Sunny Bites. Noah stepped into Sunny Bites at the peak of lunchtime. The place was buzzing with customers, the clinking of dishes, and the hum of conversations filling the air. At first glance, everything seemed ordinary: clean tables, the faint aroma of freshly brewed coffee, and a lively atmosphere. But as Noah looked closer, he noticed the cracks beneath the surface. The dining area, though tidy, looked worn out and dated. The booths were frayed at the edges, and the once vibrant paint on the walls had dulled over time. It wasn't terrible, but it lacked the warm, inviting feel that Noah had envisioned when he first started the chain. Before he could take it all in, a young waitress hurried over to him. Her name tag read Emily. She was petite, with tired eyes and a forced smile. "Hi there, welcome to Sunny Bites. What can I get you to drink?" she asked, her voice cheerful but strained. Noah noticed the faint dark circles under her eyes and the weary slump in her shoulders. "Just coffee, thanks," he replied, sliding into a booth near the window. Emily nodded and rushed off to the kitchen, moving quickly between tables with practiced efficiency. Noah watched as she juggled multiple orders, refilled drinks, and carried heavy trays without a break. Despite the obvious exhaustion, she remained polite to every customer. As Noah waited for his coffee, he heard grumbling from the booth behind him. An elderly couple was complaining about how long they had been waiting for their meal. Across the room, a group of teenagers whispered about the rude attitude of the man in the kitchen. It didn't take long for Noah to see the source of the tension. A loud voice boomed from behind the kitchen doors. "Emily! What's taking so long? You're falling behind again." The man barking orders was Frank, the shift manager. He was short and stocky, with a scowl that seemed permanently etched on his face. His apron was stained, and his posture radiated irritation. Frank didn't bother to greet Noah when he walked in, something Noah mentally noted. Emily flinched at his harsh tone, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment. She nodded quickly, her voice cracking, coming right up. Noah's jaw tightened. He had built Sunny Bites on the foundation of respect and kindness, not public humiliation and fear. Watching Emily shrink under Frank's glare stirred something in him. He had always believed that happy employees meant happy customers. But the atmosphere here was anything but joyful. When Emily returned with his coffee, Noah ordered a burger and fries. As she scribbled on her notepad, Frank's voice cut through the air again. "Move faster, Emily. We don't have all day." This time, Noah saw the flicker of pain in her eyes before she quickly masked it with a forced smile. She hurried off, her steps faster, her shoulders more hunched. Noah took a sip of his coffee, his eyes following Emily as she maneuvered through the crowded diner. She was efficient, but it was clear she was overwhelmed. He watched her hands tremble slightly as she cleared plates, never stopping to rest. The more Noah observed, the more his heart sank. This wasn't the lively, family-oriented environment he had dreamed of. It felt cold, tense, almost robotic. The employees moved quickly but without joy, like machines programmed to fulfill orders under constant pressure. A few minutes later, Emily returned with his burger and fries. She placed the plate down and whispered, sorry for the wait, not meeting his eyes. "No worries. You're doing a great job," Noah replied, offering a sincere smile. For a brief moment, her eyes widened with surprise, a genuine smile breaking through before she hurried off again. Noah took a bite of his burger, but the food tasted bland compared to the bitterness brewing inside him. He could feel the tension, not just from Emily but from the entire staff. The atmosphere was suffocating, far from the cheerful, family-friendly vibe he had envisioned. Then, from the kitchen, he heard something that made him freeze mid-bite. Muffled sobbing. It was Emily. Her quiet, heartbreaking cries seeped through the thin walls, mingling with the clatter of dishes and distant chatter. Noah's stomach turned. He set his fork down, his appetite gone. "I'm trying my best, okay?" Her voice was shaky, desperate. "I haven't had a break in 6 hours, and I'm doing everything I can." Frank's cold, dismissive voice cut through her pleas. "If you can't handle the pressure, maybe you're in the wrong job. We don't have time for excuses." Noah's chest tightened, his fists clenching under the table. He could feel his pulse quicken, anger bubbling inside him. This wasn't the Sunny Bites he had created. He stood up, leaving his half-eaten burger behind, and walked toward the kitchen door. It was time to confront the truth, no matter how painful it would be. Noah stood at the kitchen door, his heart pounding as Emily's muffled sobs reached his ears. He took a deep breath, his fingers gripping the handle tightly before pushing it open. The scene before him made his chest tighten. Emily stood with her back against the wall, her shoulders trembling as she wiped her eyes with the back of her sleeve. Her hands were shaking, exhaustion evident in every inch of her posture. Her once bright eyes were now red and swollen, filled with a deep, raw sadness. Standing over her was Frank, arms crossed, his expression cold and unyielding. His voice was sharp and impatient. "We're in the middle of a rush, Emily. If you can't keep up, just quit. I'm tired of your excuses." Emily's lip quivered, but she kept her head down, trying to hold back more tears. I just need a minute. I've been running around since my shift started. I haven't even had time to drink water." Frank scoffed, his face twisting in disdain. "Oh, poor you. Maybe if you weren't so slow, you wouldn't be so tired. This is a job, not a charity." Noah felt his fists clench, his jaw tightening as he fought to control his rising anger. This wasn't just mismanagement, this was cruelty. He stepped forward, his voice cold and firm. Is there a problem here? Both Emily and Frank's heads snapped up in shock. Frank's eyes widened for a split second before his expression hardened. Who are you to ask? This is an internal matter, Frank spat, his tone dripping with arrogance. Noah's gaze didn't waver. Just a customer who can't stand seeing people being treated like garbage. He looked at Emily, his expression softening. You need a break. Take 5 minutes. Right now. Emily hesitated, glancing nervously at Frank. But I can't. We're short-staffed, and Frank said. I said take 5, Noah repeated, his tone leaving no room for argument. You've earned it. Emily's eyes filled with gratitude, her lips parting in disbelief. She looked between Noah and Frank before nodding quickly. Thank you. I won't take long. She hurried out of the kitchen, her shoulders visibly relaxing as she passed through the swinging door. Frank's face flushed with anger. He stepped closer, his chest puffing out. Listen here, buddy. You've got no right to order my staff around. Who do you think you are? Noah didn't flinch. He kept his gaze locked on Frank's, his voice dropping to a low, dangerous tone. I'm someone who cares about how people are treated. And from where I'm standing, you're the one who's falling behind. Frank's bravado wavered for a moment, but he quickly recovered, his eyes narrowing. You don't know anything about running this place. We're short-staffed, and I'm just doing my job. If these kids can't handle it, that's on them, not me. Noah's fists tightened at his sides. Your job isn't to bully people. It's to lead them. To support them so they can do their best. But all I see is fear and exhaustion. That's not leadership. That's failure. A heavy silence fell over the kitchen, the only sound the distant clatter of dishes and murmurs from the dining area. Noah's eyes flicked to the other employees in the kitchen, 2 cooks who were studiously avoiding eye contact, their faces pale and tense. He could see the fatigue in their movements, the strain in their postures. They looked like they were walking on eggshells, desperate to avoid Frank's wrath. One of them, a wiry young man with nervous eyes, hesitated before speaking up. Emily hasn't taken a break since she clocked in. None of us have. His voice was low, almost fearful, as if expecting to be shouted at for daring to speak. Frank's head whipped around, his eyes blazing. Stay out of it, Connor. Focus on your station or you'll be the next one out the door. Noah's expression darkened, his voice dropping even lower. Threatening people for speaking the truth. Is that how you run things here? Frank's mouth opened, then closed, his face turning red. Look, I've been managing this place for 2 years. I keep this kitchen running. If people can't handle the pace, that's not my problem. Noah took a step closer, his voice calm but laced with steel. It is your problem. Because how you treat people is a reflection of who you are. And from what I've seen, you're not just a bad manager, you're a bully. Frank's face twisted in anger. You've got no idea how hard this job is. If you think you can do better, be my guest. Noah held his gaze for a long moment, his eyes cold and unyielding. Then he spoke, his voice steady. Maybe I will. He turned his back on Frank and walked out of the kitchen, his heart pounding with adrenaline and anger. Noah found Emily sitting on a crate behind the diner, her shoulders hunched, eyes red from crying. She looked up as he approached, her face flushing with embarrassment. I'm sorry, she whispered, her voice small and broken. I didn't mean to cause trouble. I can't keep up. I try, but it's never enough. Noah's heart ached at the hopelessness in her voice. He sat down beside her, his voice gentle. It's not your fault, Emily. You're doing more than anyone could expect. It's the system that's broken, not you. Emily's lip quivered, tears welling up again. I need this job. I can't afford to lose it. But every day, it feels like I'm losing a part of myself just to survive. Noah swallowed the lump in his throat, anger and sorrow swirling inside him. No one should have to feel like that. Not here. Not anywhere. As they sat in the quiet alley, Noah made a silent promise to himself. This wasn't the company he had built. And he wouldn't let it stay this way. He stood up, determination hardening his resolve. Take your time, Emily. And when you're ready, come back inside. Things are about to change. Emily looked up at him, confusion flickering in her eyes. Who are you? Noah hesitated for a moment before replying softly, just someone who should have been paying more attention. Turning on his heel, Noah walked back inside, his mind racing with plans and decisions. This wasn't just about fixing a diner. It was about fixing the heart of his company. And it was time for the truth to come out. Noah stepped back into the dining area, his heart pounding with purpose. His eyes scanned the room, taking in the faces of his employees as they rushed around, forced smiles plastered on tired faces. It wasn't just Emily who looked defeated, they all did. He knew what he had to do. No more hiding. Noah made his way to the center of the diner, his voice firm as he called out, "Everyone, can I have your attention, please?" Heads turned, surprise evident on every face. The cooks peeked out from the kitchen door, confusion flickering in their eyes. Emily emerged cautiously from the back, her cheeks still stained with tears. Frank came out last, his expression a mix of annoyance and suspicion. What now? We're in the middle of a rush. If you're looking for more coffee, you'll have to wait. Noah's jaw tightened, but he kept his composure. He took a deep breath, his eyes steady on Frank. Actually, I think you've kept people waiting long enough, Frank. Frank blinked, his brow furrowing. What's that supposed to mean? Noah reached up, slowly removing the thick-rimmed glasses and setting them down on the nearest table. He ran his hand over his scruffy beard, his posture straightening. His voice grew stronger, more commanding. It means I've seen enough. And it's time to set things right. Recognition dawned in Frank's eyes, his face draining of color. Wait, no, you're. Noah's expression was stern, unyielding. Yes, Frank. I'm Noah Bennett, CEO of Sunny Bites. A stunned silence fell over the room, the only sound the faint hum of the air conditioner. Emily's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes wide with shock. The other employees exchanged bewildered glances, whispers of disbelief rippling through the room. Frank stumbled back a step, his mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. I didn't know. You were spying on us. Noah's gaze didn't waver. I was seeing the truth for myself. And what I saw disgusted me. He looked around, his voice carrying through the room. This isn't the Sunny Bites I built. This isn't how we treat people. Frank's face twisted in anger and fear, his bravado crumbling. I was just doing my job. Keeping things running smoothly. Noah's eyes hardened. By yelling at employees? By denying them breaks? By making them feel worthless? He took a step closer, his presence commanding the room. Your job was to lead them. To support them. But all you did was bully them. And that ends today. Frank's face turned red, his fists clenching. You don't understand the pressure. You sit in your fancy office while we deal with the chaos down here. It's easy for you to judge. Noah's expression softened, but his voice remained firm. I started this company from nothing. I've worked in kitchens just like this one. I know how hard it is. But I also know that no one deserves to be treated the way you've treated them. His eyes flicked to Emily, who stood frozen by the counter, tears glistening in her eyes. I saw how you spoke to her. How you broke her spirit, right in front of customers. That's not leadership, Frank. That's cruelty. Frank's shoulders sagged, the fight draining out of him. I was just trying to keep up. We're short-staffed. The pressure. There's always pressure, Noah interrupted, his voice unwavering. But that doesn't justify breaking people down. We lift each other up. That's what Sunny Bites was supposed to be about. He looked around the room, meeting each employee's gaze. I built this company on the belief that we're a family. And somewhere along the way, I lost sight of that. I trusted people who didn't deserve that trust. His eyes returned to Frank. And that's on me. But your actions? That's on you. Frank's face crumpled, his shoulders slumping. I didn't mean for it to get this bad. I was just trying to do my job. Noah's expression softened, his voice quiet but firm. Then you should have done better. He straightened, his decision clear. You're relieved of your duties, effective immediately. Pack your things and leave. Frank's eyes widened in panic. Wait, you're firing me? Yes, Noah answered, his tone leaving no room for argument. Because this isn't just about losing customers. It's about losing people. And I won't stand by and let that happen. Frank stood frozen, shock and shame contorting his face. He looked around the room, searching for support, but found only cold, disappointed stares. With his head hung low, he shuffled back to the office, his footsteps heavy with defeat. Noah turned back to the remaining employees, his voice softening. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I wasn't here sooner. I'm sorry you had to go through this. Emily's lip quivered as she whispered, I thought no one cared. I thought I was just, replaceable. Noah's heart broke at the pain in her voice. He took a step closer, his eyes earnest. No one here is replaceable. You're not just employees, you're the heart of this place. And it's time I started treating you that way. He looked around, his voice carrying a promise. Things are going to change. Starting today. A murmur of hope rippled through the room, the weight of despair beginning to lift. Noah took a deep breath, his purpose renewed. We're going to make Sunny Bites a place where people love to work. A place where respect and kindness come first. A place where everyone matters. Emily wiped her eyes, a fragile smile breaking through. The others nodded, relief and gratitude softening their faces. Noah looked around, his eyes shining with determination. I lost sight of what matters. But I see it now. And together, we're going to rebuild this, better than ever. As he stood among his employees, Noah knew this was only the beginning. The truth was out. And now, the healing could begin. The tension in the diner began to dissolve, replaced by a palpable sense of hope. Noah looked around at the faces of his employees, no longer masked by fear and exhaustion but softened by relief and cautious optimism. He took a deep breath, his voice steady as he continued, I built Sunny Bites to be a place of joy, not just for customers but for the people who work here. I lost sight of that. But today, we start over. Turning to Emily, his gaze softened. I saw how hard you work. How much you care. You deserve more than just a paycheck. You deserve respect, appreciation, and a team that supports each other. Emily's eyes shimmered with tears, her voice trembling. I thought no one noticed. I thought it didn't matter. Noah's chest tightened with guilt. It matters. You matter. And from now on, I'm going to make sure you feel that every single day. He addressed the rest of the staff, his tone resolute. I'm not just changing the rules. I'm changing the culture. Starting today, every employee gets fair breaks, respect, and a voice that will be heard. A murmur of gratitude rippled through the room, the burden of silence finally lifting. Noah's eyes turned toward the door Frank had walked out of, his face hardening with determination. I trusted people to lead with integrity. I failed to see what was really happening. But I promise you, I won't make that mistake again. He took a deep breath, his voice carrying the weight of his realization. A business isn't just about profits or growth. It's about people. It's about making a positive impact on everyone who walks through that door, employees and customers alike. Noah looked at his team, his heart swelling with pride and purpose. We're not just rebuilding a diner. We're rebuilding a family. A smile spread across Emily's face, mirrored by her fellow co-workers. For the first time in a long while, they felt hope. Noah knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but he was ready to lead with empathy, respect, and integrity. The true heart of Sunny Bites was never the food. It was the people. And it was time to put them first. As the team gathered around, exchanging relieved smiles and hopeful whispers, Noah realized that this wasn't just a fresh start for his company, it was a new beginning for all of them. Because sometimes, the most important thing a leader can do is remember why they started in the first place.